Hey, so I wanted to make a little bit of an easier video today. So I'm going to talk about some books, and specifically, I'm going to talk about books that go against the narrative of the blank slate. So, blank slateism, or tabula rasa, is an idea that is very popular on the left. It was at one point popular on the right. It is no longer popular on the right. Um, so what it is essentially, it says that everyone comes into this world with nothing, basically. We don't have any programs, we don't have any uh, tendencies, nothing. All of that comes afterwards, and we are essentially programmed by socialization into our behaviors. Um, so a lot of leftism actually depends on this idea. So if this idea turns out to be false, well, leftism really collapses in on itself. This is, of course, why leftists are social constructivists. They say that everything is a social construct. So let's talk about some books that you should read to argue against the blank slate. First off, you should get an evolutionary psychology textbook, and you should get a biological anthropology textbook. I got both of these for a total of about $16. That's $8 a book. It's very easy to get a hold of them. If you know where to look, Thrift Books is a great website for getting books like this. And you can get really good deals on books on Thrift Books as well. So evolutionary psychology is the psychology of how evolution affects behavior and cognition. And biological anthropology is essentially the anthropology of our primatological being. Human beings are primates. We have different influences from our primate ancestors, and we have different influences from our biology. So biological anthropology studies how our biology affects our being. So those two are good starters. Then, of course, you could read The Blank Slate by Steven Pinker. I listened to an audiobook several years ago, and well, he argues, he does a lot to argue against the blank slate in that book, but I can't remember a whole lot of it. But it would be good to go through that. You could also go through The Language Instinct by Steven Pinker, because that one I do remember a bit more about. But that one just goes to prove that language is not a social construct. It is actually instinctual. It comes to us through our biology, really. Then, of course, there is Noam Chomsky's Language and Mind, which is sort of the same thing as The Language Instinct by Steven Pinker. Then you could look at The Red Queen by Matt Ridley. Matt Ridley was a scientist, and well, I think he's still alive, actually. Matt Ridley is a scientist and a journalist, and he, I think he's a member of the House of Lords in the UK. But he did a lot of work on biology and behavioral biology. And The Red Queen is specifically about sexual behavior. And he goes through all sorts of different analyses of different animals and compares them to humans. And then he goes through the sociological analysis of humans. And he essentially says that our behavior is informed by biology, that is, programmed by biology, but it is molded by society. So the form that it takes is going to appear different, although the same basic structure is going to be the same. This is because the same basic structure is going to be the same because it's all biological, but the form that it takes is going to be different because it is molded socially. And so that is actually a good book against the tabula rasa. Then you could, and he also goes over sex differences. Then you could go through more sex differences. You could look at Luann Brisendine's books. Luann Brizendine has two books, one book called The Female Brain and one book called The Male Brain. Now, I have only read The Female Brain, but because I have read The Female Brain, I know that Luann Brizendine does excellent work. Half the book, half of the physical being of the book was just citations. So that is a lot of research combined into a single text. So Luann Brizendine is a good one to look at the sex differences in the brain. Then, of course, there are race differences. You could take what you know about behavioral biological anthropology and apply it to Philip Rushton's Race, Evolution, and Behavior. Now, that book is chock full of evidence, scientific evidence, that he did not produce. He just gathered it and collected it and put it together. Evidence of racial differences. Now, that does not mean that there are the fact that there are racial differences does not mean there is inherent superiority or inferiority. It does not mean that people should be discriminated against. It just means that there are differences. People are different. Everyone's different. So those are some books that I would say are very good for looking at looking against the tabula rasa myth. I do have more books on my wish list that I hope to get eventually that may also go against the tabula rasa. But these are ones that I have actually read now. So, thank you for watching. Peace.